So, Call of Duty is not a triple A game franchise anymore. I think it's clear to say it's good to say it's clear. It's fair to say that we've reached a point that after years of steady decline in content, in quality, in how we have been treated as a community, that Call of Duty is not deserving the AAA status anymore. It's not. And of course, they grossed a billion in a couple of days with launch of Modern Warfare 2. But the sheer amount of money being made in a very short period of time is only reflected because of the promises made and never kept. We have seen a hype being built around the game, and it's constantly, year after year, not delivering. And at the end of a cycle of Call of Duty, that's a year, then we have somewhat of a rich game full of content. Just like Black Ops Cold War, when it released, it was in a poor state, and eventually we got a game that is now in an okay state. But shortly after, we're paying top-notch dollar for a game that is not living up to the hype, scraps content, and then reinstall that in a game as new content. So, in order for a game to live up to a AAA status, there needs to be a few criteria met. And I just briefly want to go over them, and then we can define if I'm right. And I'm really anxious to hear what you guys have to say. Do you consider Call of Duty a AAA gaming franchise? Yes or no? What's your view on that? Because it's considered just generally accepted that Call of Duty is a AAA game. What is your take on that? But before we dive into this, of course, help a brother out, like, subscribe, hit those notifications buttons, of course. So the first thing is, the first criteria you see with AAA games is that there is a direct relation between the hype, the building, and the expectations that are being set about a game, and eventually what the reality shows when it comes out. With Call of Duty, there is a huge gap between what we get in those hype building moments, pre-release phase. For Modern Warfare 2, it was the most advanced Call of Duty. It was an unprecedented level of support. There is nothing of that was true. Back in the days, games, Modern Warfare 2 back in the days, all the cards that are being considered the best in the franchise, released with maybe 17 maps, right? Rich of content, things to do, skill gap. But now we're lucky if we can have 7 or 8 maps max, right? And I'm talking about multiplayer. Because that's Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a fast-paced arcade type of shooter with 6v6. That is Call of Duty. And that's why it's failing so miserably. It builds an expectation. People live on that. People trust that. People buy the game. And in reality, we got a buggy, a glitchy game that is strapped from all content, and there is nothing to do. That is not worthy of a AAA phase or a state, AAA state. You can't say that this franchise, what we've seen with Vanguard, what we've seen with Black Ops Cold War, what we've seen with Modern Warfare 2 now, it's a steady decline in what we, well, in the trust we can have as a community in Activision and as developers. They're full of shit, basically. And that is reflected in the game, and therefore it doesn't deserve on this point a AAA status. Also, with AAA games, you have a AAA post-launch strategy. There is no post-launch strategy. We haven't heard from Infinity Ward and from Activision for maybe 5-6 months. Nothing has been added in 6 months. And the only thing we got were maps we already knew. Shipment. It was in Vanguard even, so it's an old map. And I love the old maps, right? And I don't even consider Shipment being a map, and then we got Shoot the Ship. So okay, I don't like Shoot the Ship, but okay, that's just subjective thoughts. But there is no post-launch. There is no unprecedented level of support. It was a huge lie. And now, after 6 months, we finally got a new map. I don't like the map, but subjectively. And now we're getting 2, 3 maps in this season. But we're already running into the final phase of the yearly cycle. And we were promised a longer lifespan of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And eventually, Sledgehammer, who just brought the biggest turd in the franchise to the table, Vanguard, is now going to develop a new game that is going to be full priced, and in the Modern Warfare 2 realm. Well, fix your first realm first before moving on to the next. And the only reason why Sledgehammer is doing this, is just because they want that billion again. And how much do you ask from a community? How much are we going to stick up with Activision's and Activision and the developers? So the third point I want to touch upon is that there needs to be a reasonable balance between user score and critic score or Metascore. If you go to the Metacritic score, you see that the critics gave 7.6 or 7 something, and it's getting a 5 from the users. So the users don't accept this game to be good. And if I'm looking at the previous installments, they all get the same treatment. If I'm looking at real AAA titles, and of course they're not first-person shooters, if you're looking at God of War, Horizon, those kind of things, they're all being well perceived. AAA status. That's what they get, and that's what they deserve. But if I look at Call of Duty, if you would take the older Call of Duties, they all lift up to that user experience and therefore user scores. And with this, we're not giving as a community a score that resembles a AAA game. And we've now reached a phase that we can't trust the developer, we can't trust Activision, and the people who push this game, the critics, the professional critics, they value this higher. So how is this? How could this be? There is no. It differs so much between what we as a community find from this game and what we're being pushed upon. So we only give it a 5, and I think that is even high because this game doesn't deserve a 5. It's a 3 or a 4 for me. And on that part, with big AAA titles, you have a lot of player retention and replayability. And to be fair, there is no replayability. Warzone is failing. Resurgence is kind of fun, but in essence, it's just part of the Warzone realm, and it's failing. And the multiplayer is failing hard. So you see players count going down. We've all seen the figures in the past few weeks and month. There is no player retention. Everything is going down. Everybody's abandoning the ship of Call of Duty. And are we as a community still prepared to pay $80 every year for a game that's not living up to expectations and is eventually not bringing what they promise, and we're being scammed to an extent? That's not AAA status. They're not treating their community as a AAA community, because that should be the case. We're the ones keeping this alive, having these discussions. We love this franchise, and we're being treated like pure shit by these guys. So that's not AAA status. And on top of that, valuing the community feedback. We don't have a company, a publisher, and a developer that is valuing feedback. They have been silent for the 5-6 months post-launch. And what they bring to the table, they brought that fan favorite sniper now, but is that really listening to the community? No, we're complaining about skill-based matchmaking. Just don't break up the lobbies. Let the lobbies be. Go back to the old type of Call of Duty, where lobbies stick together and where skill mattered. No, you're being put in sweat lobbies, and the only way to bypass that is to play shipment, because skill-based matchmaking doesn't really work on that map because of its sheer chaos. So remove skill-based matchmaking. Just remove it. Bring enough content to the table at launch. Have a strong post-launch strategy. You had 3,000 developers, and what you brought to the table is just shameful. You've treated what you've done is you created a Call of Duty. You slapped a Modern Warfare sticker on it, and you threw it against the wall, and you hope it stuck there. And now it doesn't, just drops just drops from the wall. Why? Because you don't care about the community. You don't care about the Modern Warfare saga, because Modern Warfare 2 means a lot in the Call of Duty franchise community. And they just took it and they abused it, lied about it, slapped something on it, and just pushed it out in the market for people to throw their money at. And they took your money, 1 billion, and even in counting with all these microtransactions. And now they're even bringing a shameful $30 for that new DLC type of content and that skin. $30 freaking dollars. That's 43% of the initial buy of a game. You need to invest in a battle pass premium thing. Come on, if you actually thinking about buying this, why? It's just milking the whole franchise dry. They don't care about you. Take away the battle pass, take away the cosmetics, and bring maps. I would rather go back to a system of the map packs. I'm not advocating for it, but if I have to choose between two portions of evil, I would go price battle packs, or map packs. That we had that in the day. It was a big disaster. I know it split the community in half, but okay, I'd rather pay for maps as content, unique, meaningful content, than ripping someone off for 43 or 45% of the initial buy price and slap a battle pass premium. And that's the only thing they care about. That's the only thing they care about. So my opinion, it's not a AAA game anymore. It's not. It's just, they were king of the hill. They were the crown king. They gave the direction of a whole market of first-person shooter. They basically invented. Now, they didn't invent it, but they took it and they enhanced it, and they guided the way on how first-person shooters should be treated. There's a lot of spin-offs. A lot of people tried to walk away with it. Everybody failed. And now they got arrogant, and now they're trying to mold Call of Duty in something that it's not. They forgot where they came from, and they're a money hungry. There's nothing wrong with being money hungry, by the way, but if that means treating your consumers like shit, your community like shit, you lie to your community, and then you're gonna start pushing them towards battle passes and cosmetics and microtransactions. I'm frustrated with this game. I hope they find new ways of doing it, and my hope was on this 2-year cycle, maybe 3-year cycle, and they're abandoning it before the idea even got started. So I'm okay. What do you think? Is it a AAA game for you still? Yes or nay? Yay or nay? I'm looking forward to your opinion, guys, as always. For now, don't forget.
Please subscribe. Please subscribe.
Subscribe. Subscribe.
Please
Subscribe.
Please subscribe.
To subscribe, and welcome to the club. See you on the battlefield. Bye.